Welcome to 32 Bar Cut the Show, a show where we talk with our friends about what it's like to be a performer. Today on 32 Bar Cut the Show, we are sitting down with Yvette Gonzalez-Nacer.
It's time to welcome on our guest, my favorite by far, a Broadway star,
Yvette Gonzalez-Nacer.
On 32 Bar Cut.
She is giving us fresh beats on stage, on TV, and in the recording studio. Welcome to the show, Yvette Gonzalez-Nacer.
Thank you so much, sweetheart. And also, I need that every time I go into a room, just like presenting myself. That's amazing.
Austin's got a really good announcer voice. We just found this out in this whole venture of doing this show. He's like in the booth, like, Yvette Gonzalez-Nacer. You know, he's got it down.
Get it, Austin. We believe in you. You have a real career ahead of you.
So how are you doing? How have you been during this strange year of living virtually and not really doing the whole stage thing?
Oh my God. Well, the whole year has been, all up and down, obviously. But now I'm really good. I moved back to California.
Nice.
And I've been so grateful and so happy to be in the warm weather. And like my friends are here and it's just been really nice. So,
because you're originally from California, right?
I'm originally from Miami.
Oh, you're from Miami. Okay.
Yeah. And that's where I was born. And then I moved to California pretty young and then was going back and forth from New York as much as I could to, work and do theater. And then now I'm back here. So I'm just like, this is good. This is
yes,
good.
Absolutely.
How are you doing?
We're doing good. It's been, like you said, up and down. We spent some time with in-laws in the beginning of all this, and then we came back to New York. And I think when we got back to New York, it felt like, like our creativity kind of burst open and we were like ready to make things happen and just, settle into that. So it's been really good. And now it's warm. So it's nice and it doesn't feel as cold, the dreary New York that it can be when it's snowy and all that stuff. So it's good.
I think it could be so lonely if you're just like isolated in the cold, just like looking at the snow.
Absolutely.
Some of those days.
So when you were, wait, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, no.
I was
going to say, is it warm in New York again? Is what I was asking.
Yeah. It's warm in New York now, which is nice. I mean, like there's a couple days where it's a little nippy, with it still being like March, but I'm hopeful that it's going to get warmer and warmer. So that's really great. Yeah. Nice. So you were saying you would bounce back and forth. So when you moved to LA, I'm assuming did you have your eyes set on a recording career or were you like, oh no. Oh wow. This is interesting.
I went to school on an opera scholarship and then I did theater as well. And then my first job out of college, I was kind of doing a lot of singing gigs like Florida Grand Opera and like teaching and doing whatever. And then I booked a tour with Engelbert Humperdinck, King of Romance. He's like from the 70s. Your mom probably knows him. And then so I got to like tour the world and like, have a job. And it was like really exciting at the time. And so I ended up leaving Miami because there was nothing really going on. Mm-hmm. And I just knew I wanted to keep performing and doing music and acting and all that. But it was like really slim pickings in Miami. So I just ended up picking New York or LA and I was like, let's try LA. And I took an Amtrak for like, my whole move was like $400 like all together, including myself. And I didn't really have a solid plan. I just knew I wanted to keep growing and doing, what I love.
That's incredible. We have that in common. I was a classical voice student as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Your voice is so crazy good because we did that workshop together.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
You're amazing. But yeah.
Thank you so much. I was not invited back, but that's okay. That's the story for another time.
Oh. You're like the best part. Oh my God.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. It's fine. It's good when it happens early, right? That way you don't have to dwell on it too long or invest too much in it. You're just like, oh, that wasn't for me. Cool. Moving on. I'm good. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing. I love that whole thing because it's, your recording sound doesn't have an operatic sound at all. It's very pop sounding. Did you find that it was easy to transition into that, or did you always sing that way and you learned classical, your classical voice? How do you meld those all together?
That's such a good question. And now you have me thinking about it. I'm like, it was a journey actually, because when I've always been good at kind of imitating sounds and, doing impressions and that opera to me, I was like impersonating an opera singer. Like teachers would teach me, but I'd be just like imitating what I hear. But I don't sing opera at all anymore. I just feel like finding another sound that wasn't musical theater, that wasn't opera, that was just like just other parts of your instrument. That was a journey to find. Like I had to strip away things I had picked up along the way and like start, exploring that. But it was a lot of years of just like trial and error. Like, well, this will do. But I knew it wasn't like, and I'm still finding my sound. Like I'm still like experimenting with colors and like learning. And, it's such an ongoing process. I think some people have it easy because they're like, this is what they sound like forever. This is just their voice. And I just didn't have that. And I think that that's kind of a blessing and a curse. Like it's good because you can do a lot of different kinds of work. But as an artist, it's sometimes like, we got to pick a lane. And that could be a little hard, because there's so many things you want to do with it. But yeah, it was definitely not like a natural, it was like a lot of unlearning, I should say.
Yeah, I feel you on that for sure. Because for me, it was when I've been in The Lion King for the past few years. And when I first got into it, all they could talk about was vibrato. They were like, take it out.
What?
And I was like, how? Like, how do you do that without going flat or losing the essence of your voice? And, so that took a lot for me. And I think, I had to give a little and they had to give a little for us to kind of come in the middle a bit with it. But, there was a bit of unlearning, I guess, for me. And then I got a really good vocal teacher that kind of helped me through what can happen to your voice when you kind of like manipulate it to not have vibrato instead of it letting it be free and everything. But yeah, it is an experience.
It's funny that like with colors in your voice, like I actually recorded something yesterday, and usually even with my own stuff, except that song that you have my lyric for there, that's like a really quiet song that I did. That was like the first time that I sang something like that. But usually I try and be a little full out. Like I want to like use my voice and sometimes be loud and, whatever. And last night I was recording a new song of mine and I had lowered the key by like a third. I was like, you know what would happen if we just took it down? And it was like interesting because even still I was like, well, that's like a lower register. Like obviously it's a lower part. You're not as powerful. It's like maybe a quieter moment. And I was like, is that boring? Like, is that boring for people to hear? Because I'm so used to like, but I just did it anyway. And I was like, that might be fun. It's like this experiment with like, even those colors and just like see, like you keep learning about yourself. And I learn about myself sometimes through my voice too. So, but yeah, it's a lot of trial and error for sure.
Absolutely. So you said, okay, so you moved to Cali and then you were bouncing back and forth to New York. And as I was doing my research, because I like to research everybody before we do this, Google is my friend. YouTube is my friend. I saw your IMDb reels. And so you have like, they're so great, by the way. You have a comedic reel, a dramatic reel. And there was one more. I was like, she is working. Okay.
Oh, there's like a musical.
Yeah. And so were you bouncing back and forth and doing TV and film during that time too?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the earlier parts of my time in LA, I was actually going up and down the coast doing like theater, some not so good, some okay. Like I was like, I gotta get my equity card. It was like this goal. So that happened. And then when I went to New York, I mean, I think I was just always doing a little bit of everything at the same time. So it was always like a little music and then maybe there'd be a TV spot or something like that. So it was very much like balanced for the most part, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's like the dream that you can like explore all of those at the same time and build your resume at the same time. For me, it's been completely different. Like it's all been like theater. Oh, and now I'm getting some TV film auditions. So we'll see. I'm very hopeful that something will happen, but it's like, I guess I'll hone one craft and now I'm moving on to honing another one or learning about another one, which is cool.
That's amazing. I think that's probably the better way to do it because you're like focused.
You think so?
I'm always like changing hats.
I like the way you did it. You can't get bored that way,
You can't get bored. No, I know you really can't. But I also think there's a lot of power now in like just focusing on one project at a time, or maybe two,
Yeah, I like that.
But I love that I was just like, I do theater, and then what that is. Like, you're a master at your craft, and then you're going to now kill it in the TV and film world. I'm ready to see you on TV now.
I'm ready too, from your lips to God's ears, okay? So you got a chance to do In the Heights, which is so incredible. That is amazing. Can you share your audition story?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, how did that whole thing start? Oh, I remember. I was doing a show called Three Mo Divas.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, it was just really fun. And we were doing something in Toronto, I think. And Kevin McCullum was there for, man, it was like spelling bee. This was like a while back. And then he came back backstage, and he's like, I want you to go see my show. It's at 37 Arts. So it was off Broadway at the time. He's like, I have plans for it. I'm like, what are your plans? It was going to Broadway was like his plan. But anyways, I went to go see it, and like, oh my God, I like put a little star and like a little heart next to Vanessa. I was like, I love it. Like, I wanted to play her. And it was just so amazing. Like, seeing a show that just celebrated my culture, and the music is so amazing, obviously. And I didn't get to audition the first time around, I think because Karen and everybody was already set. But I auditioned for the first national, and it was so cool. Like, my agent didn't actually want me to audition at the time, because they're like, you're unavailable, because I was doing a kid show on Nickelodeon, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. And I was like, no, let them say no. Let them say no. And then, so we just kind of put it in my contract that I could get out if, whatever. So I ended up auditioning when I was in town for like the week. I was just in New York for like a week or something, doing something else. And it was awesome. Like, Lynn and Tommy and like everybody was there. And I think for the callback, I wore these like big camouflage pants and like a hot pink shirt, and I put in a weave, like a sewn in. Like,
oh, you
weave.
sewed it in. Wow.
I just felt like it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, full out.
So unnecessary, and I like just felt like it would give me the confidence, and like. But I booked it, so that it must have worked.
Yeah,
the hair. I blame the hair. and I got to do it for like 5 months, and then our show got picked up for a second season, but they took the cast to Broadway, so I didn't get to do it with Lynn or like any of the That would have actually been my debut if I had stayed with that show.
Wow,
which was like within the Heights, but yeah, that was it.
You got to do Fresh, what was it? Yes, Fresh Beat Band.
The Fresh Beat Band, yeah.
Yeah, which is so cool. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because from my research, it's like you get to sing and perform. You play a lot of instruments. So this sounds like the perfect kind of job for someone like you.
Yeah, that show was interesting. The audition, too, because my agent was like, they need someone that can sing, act, dance, and play an instrument. So I went to my audition with my violin, and I think a guitar as well. And then they're like, there was a piano in the room, and I ended up like playing a song on the piano, playing a song on guitar, on violin. And then they're like, do you know Devil Went Down to Georgia? And they're like taking requests. Like, the longest audition. I just kept playing songs. And that was so fun. And the show, I mean, I guess for those who don't know it, it was a kids show, right? And it was created by this incredible couple, Scott Kraft and Nadine Vandervelde. And yeah, I played Kiki, the lead guitarist, singer, and violinist in the Fresh Beat Band. And we played these 4 friends who had a band and got into all these like wild and crazy adventures. And it was a really intense and really beautiful chapter in my life, And as there was music in the show, we ended up doing a few tours as an actual band.
That is awesome.
And we sold out like all over. It was rad. And then when we got back, like when we were done with the tour, we ended up recording 20 episodes of an animated spinoff, and that was so cool. Yeah, it was just amazing, and I'm just really grateful for all those people like that I worked with. We're all still good friends, and it was just a beautiful chapter.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. And that went on for like 4 seasons, you said, right?
I think it was 3 seasons and then 1 season of an animated show.
Oh, gotcha. That is
4 altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like a dream come true to get to do, the series. You get to show off your talents as a musician and a vocalist and an actress, and then tour, like all of that encompasses like the performer dream, I think.
It's always fun to be able to like do something where you get to use all the tools in your belt.
Yeah.
And that show in particular, there were tools I did not know I would ever have. And you're like forced to learn them in like a week. So yeah, it was pretty intense. Hold on, there. Yay. It's fresh air. I was like, it's getting hotter.
So have you always wanted to be an actor, or did you have other aspirations before you like kind of like trickled into this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know I've always liked performing.
Mm-hmm.
My mom told me a story the other day. Oh, that's my alarm. We're good. I'm awake. She told me the story the other day. She's like, you were 3. And, like, they were trying to sell the house when I was little, and this couple was over. And I ended up grabbing my sister and a pair of maracas, and we were singing Maria Isabel, this like little Spanish song, like full out. And like just as a 3-year-old, and they ended up buying the house, and she's like, Yvette, you were the youngest realtor on the block. But I just thought it was a really cute story. But I just always loved expressing myself through the arts, you know, whether it was writing poetry or songs or plays for me and my sisters to be in, or playing instruments, or, you know, anything. That's just always been one of my favorite things. And so whether it's acting or singing, I'm just like, I think I've always been I've always gravitated towards that the most, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, and now you get to do it for a living in all different kinds of ways, which is a true blessing for sure.
Yeah. I feel really grateful because it's always good to know what you love, and then to be able to do it is like, wow, I'm so lucky, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been on some strange auditions. Have you been on any weird auditions?
Yes. Wait, I want to hear one of yours.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I have one. So the weirdest thing I had to do was actually for a commercial audition. I had to dance and like Beyonce, which I was like, I'm not Beyonce, but I'll try. So then I had to dance like Beyonce, and then they brought a guy in because they wanted to see our chemistry. And mind you, this is a commercial audition, and we had to kiss 11 times.
Are you sure that was a commercial audition? That's crazy.
Yeah. And now, I mean, it was really early in my career. Now I would have said, no, if I book it, I'll be willing to kiss, you know, whoever it is, but I'm not going to, you know, just like kiss this guy. But that's like the strangest thing I've ever had to do in an audition, I think. That's
pretty bad. I mean, okay, yeah. I have a chemistry story, but it's not what you think.
Okay.
Well, I won't say the name of the show. I won't throw them under the bus, but I was auditioning once to replace them on Broadway. And one of the songs in the audition packet was an up-tempo from the show. Mm-hmm. So I'm like doing it, and then they stopped me halfway and was like, that was great. Now, can you actually sing it as a ballad and really go up to the reader? You know, we want to see the chemistry. So, you know, I took the note, I sang it as a ballad, and I went up to the reader and like sang it to him, and this poor boy turned like beet red in the face. And I felt so bad. I was like just trying to do my best to not make it awkward whilst taking the note, you know, but his poor face was red till like, I think till I left the room. And then after they were just like, thank you. I didn't book it.
I hope they got the chemistry they wanted. Like,
I was like, that's what you asked for. It was super weird. Like, do this up-tempo as a ballad, go up to the reader. So I'm like doing what you asked.
Yeah, it's funny because you never like. I'm starting to get better with this, like just like doing it my way. And if they like it, great. If they don't, fine. But like. Right. For the longest, I was like, what do they want? What do they want? You know, I'm like looking at the script and I'm like, okay, it looks like they want this. You know, I'm going to do my hair this way. I'm going to wear this look. I'm going to walk in with this kind of attitude or temperament or whatever. And then you walk in and it is like the opposite of what, you know, and it's like you have to make that switch or whatever. But I think as actors, we're always trying to seek, okay, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want?
It's totally.
Yeah.
And we play casting director. We're like, I think they want to hire someone like this. Yeah. I don't know if you do this. And then I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not even right for that. Why do they even want to see me? Like, that's not even who they should cast.
You're like, ooh, I know somebody really good for this.
I straight up been like to my friends, you need to audition for this. This is perfect for you. That's not my show. But yeah, that's so interesting though, because that also is part of our job as actors, and to use our imagination and be like, this is what we want to make. This is what I think it should be. But also, like, it's hard when you're like trying to please the people that you're doing it for and be like, this is what you want, right? It's like this. It's this fine line of like, just do what you think is the best version of,
anyway. Or whatever feels comfortable, because if you book it and you were doing something that's like really outside of you, that's maybe not comfortable, then you're going to be stuck doing that for a series or for 8 times a week or for whatever,
Right. That's right. There's a lot of responsibility there. You might get stuck with something you don't even want. That's real. Okay.
So you were saying that In the Heights would have been your Broadway debut, but what ended up being your Broadway debut?
Hadestown, which was
Hadestown.
2019.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Well, congratulations. I got to see you in that. You're phenomenal. I got to see you twice.
You
phenomenal.
did?
Yeah. I paid for a ticket, and then I went for the Actors Fund performance. So I was at those two.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. You were fantastic. I mean, the whole cast is fantastic. And the Fates have these really tight harmonies and beautiful musical moments. It's like, it's amazing. I'm so interested and curious about that audition experience, honestly. And the workshop too.
Yeah, I did a workshop. Was it 2015 and 2017? I think it was something like that. But I was, again, just in New York for like a week, and there happened to be this audition for a workshop, and I happened to have my violin with me. And then they're like, you need to play an instrument, which is so fun every time I get to play violin in a show, because it's like, it almost feels like part of my spiritual journey. Like, it doesn't matter the skill level, how good or bad I am. It's like, the violin is part of my path somehow, And so I auditioned for the show, and I had like my suitcase when I walked in. I was like on my way to the airport. It was that kind of thing. And then I booked it, and I did the show, and right away, I mean, this is like, the show changed so much, since then. But I was like, man, this is so special. Like, the music was so different for musical theater, for Broadway. And I think Reeve was doing it at the time, and I think I did it with Patrick. I think Amber, I think pretty much everybody except Andre was the same, and the other Fates were different. But it was just beautiful. And then I did it again for New York Theater Workshop, and I was like, man, this is great. And then I think December of it was going off Broadway, and then I couldn't join because I was busy. But then they ended up having auditions in December of 2018, so right before the year started. And and I literally had 2 days off in something I was doing, or 3 days off. And so I was able to fly out, do the audition, and fly back to go do the other thing I was doing. And like, everything just worked out really perfectly. And I thought, actually, because I already did the workshop, it was going to be like, here's, you have an offer or something like that, come in and like, remind us what you look like. But it was like, it almost looked like an open call. There were so many people, and I was like, and it was really fun because we got to watch each other audition. Like, there was like a dance portion, even though there's not a lot of dancing in the show. It's more like, stylized movement and things, like some dance, I guess. But yeah, and we were like, everyone was clapping for each other. It was so supportive and beautiful. I was like, man, this is why I love New York. And then I just auditioned. They had me read for Persephone, but my agent hadn't given me the packet. So I did like a cold read for Persephone, which was super fun. And then, that was it. And then I booked it. And then I came out in 2019 and, moved out here, or out there really. And, it was really fun. Like, the whole thing was just like, it's a special show. And I love that, my debut was written by a woman, directed by a woman, and had so many incredible females on the creative team. I feel like they just like set the bar a little higher for everyone. And that was one of my favorite parts of like just being involved in the whole show, was all the female power,
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a dynamic show too, because, you have this ancient story, and a lot of times when you take an ancient story and you modernize it, it still works because there's something about a story that lives on and lives on. It's people can identify with it and they love it, and that's how it's lived on, because most of this is like, it's word of mouth, and then someone writes it down, and that's how it has a life, right? So the take on this story of Persephone is it was just really beautiful to watch, and you know what's going to happen in the end, but still at the end, when, he fails her or whatever. I don't want to spoiler alert, if you don't know the story, if you haven't seen the show.
Listen, you could Google that.
Yeah. Is that you could still hear the audience gasp because they just couldn't believe it. And that's the beauty of storytelling, that you may know the end, but it still breaks your heart, even though your heart's going to get broken.
Even if my friend Condola Rashad, who's like an amazing actor, singer.
Yes.
Such a legend. And she came to see it, and she knows obviously what's going to happen. She was even like, why couldn't they have changed it for Broadway? Like, why couldn't they have changed that ending? I agree. Like, they could have just made that a happy ending.
I know. Hearts broken
So
across
sad.
the board. It's so sad. So heartbreaking. And they have such a great chemistry too. So that's beautiful to watch too. All of you do. Everyone, you can tell, everyone has such a great chemistry with each other. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about what it was like, in the workshop, like, just with the musicality of it. Because if they call you in and they say, hey, we need you to be able to play an instrument, did that mean that they didn't have those parts built in yet and they built it around the women that they hired?
I think it might have been something like that because, for example, I almost brought a guitar to the audition because I was like, oh, that might be cool because it looks like it's a folky kind of thing. And then I thought, well, violin's a little bit, not as many people do that. So maybe I'll have a better chance of, and it's also could be a folky instrument, obviously, or bluesy or, whatever the vibe was or is. But I don't know. I feel like the girl who did it after me in Canada, I think she played violin. Wait, I'm not really sure, but I know that like the instrumentation changed when I did the workshops. Like it wasn't always the same.
Oh,
like I don't think we had an accordion. I think it was one of the girls played guitar. I want to say one of them played like a triangle, but that can't be right. I have to really do not quote me on that. Yeah, that's just wrong. Maybe a tambourine though. You know what? my mind is blanking, but I think that they probably like saw, okay, that would work. And also musically, because so Michael Chorney and Todd Sickafus did the orchestrations, and it's like one of the best parts of the show. It's like just how they can bring these songs to life, and like the cello, like the trombone, like everyone's such a unique character in the band. And it's just an 8-piece band. So I think that also that might have been part of it. Like, well, we want to have, this part played. Okay, well, yeah, let's keep a violin, or let's have an accordion, or, just to fill in what would make the most sense. So I think, it was probably part of it, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was, I didn't have to research this because I came across it during the holiday season, but the Fates did an incredible holiday album called If the Fates Allow. Yeah, it's so cool. And so I saw there that you wrote some of the music too.
Yeah, I did. And, that was an interesting project. I had this idea to make a holiday album in 2019, but I kind of had the idea a little too late, and I pitched it to like Broadway Records or something, and then he was like, "Yeah, this is great, but we didn't have time, so that was that. We put a pin in it, and then it was 2020. We had a lot more time on our hands. But it's interesting because even still, I didn't remember about the project till like it was like August, maybe. It was still a little late in the game to be making a holiday album. But I went to this guy, Van Dean, who's the president of Broadway Records, and I pitched it to him again. And then we pitched it together to Mara Isaacs, who's one of the lead producers for Hadestown. And we were able to like kind of join forces and put together this album in like not a lot of time, but we got everybody from the cast of Hadestown to participate in it. And yeah, it's like a fate-centered album, like If the Fates Allow. But it was just so beautiful, like in a pandemic, to be able to make, this album. And I think also the songs were really interesting. There was like something for everyone. And it wasn't like, there were a couple like happy songs, but they were kind of a little darker, and it almost felt like an extension of Hadestown, which is part of the concept of it. So yeah, like the arrangements, like just everything, there was just like a moodiness to it, you know?
Yeah.
But, and I wrote one of the songs called Gift for an Angel. And it's basically a song about like when you lose someone and like sending them peace and love, like in the holidays, but like that kind of thing. And it was really cool because I lost my grandmother recently. And so I was kind of thinking about, no, it's okay. And I was just thinking about like people like that we lose and like how we have to like celebrate them even still, like even when they're gone. So yeah, it was fun to write, and I arranged a couple songs on the album, so that was fun too. And it was just great. It was just really beautiful to like have an idea and then like see it manifest.
Absolutely.
That's always like one of my favorite things.
That's incredible. And I would have to agree with you that like the whole quality of Hadestown does have a darkness. There's just a few moments of light, and it seems between the two protagonists, you know, but I would not expect a Fates or even a Hadestown holiday album to be like cheery or anything like that. I would expect it to be mellow and dark and rich, and that's what you get when you listen to the album, for sure.
Wow, that's good. There were a lot of songs that were like, when we were like, what songs to put on it? And there were definitely some like happier, like, I don't say cheesy, but kind of tongue-in-cheek, like those kind of songs, and they did not make it to the album. We're like, we have to edit. This is not the vibe.
Yeah. Well, you did a fantastic job with it. And if you're listening or watching this series, you should definitely check it out on Spotify, on Apple Music. If the fates allow, you can check that out. And just so you know, in the next segment in the curtain call, we are going to be talking about Yvette's magnificent recording artist career and her songwriting career. And if you haven't checked her out, you're missing out. You're missing out greatly. You are a fantastic lyricist. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you about that. And to see that segment, you've got to go to 32barcut.com. Okay. We are getting into the last question, and then we're going to go to the stage door round. So for the last question, I really wanted to chat about any advice that you would have to give your younger self.
I mean, there's so many things I would tell my younger self, honestly. But I mean, I think it's the most important to like know yourself, right? And love yourself, and to really just believe in yourself. And I think that's it. Like, just believe you can do it and have fun. You know, like at the end of the day, we're actors, you know, we're singers. Like, this is a fun job. Like, let's continue to be curious about it, and curious about the world, and like, just, I don't know, be easy on ourselves, you know? It's such a tough choice. But I think the biggest thing, and my mom taught me this, is you have to believe in yourself. Like, that is, and just be who you are. Like, you are enough. Like, all those kind of things that I could possibly say, like, they sound cliche and they are, but you know, but those like simple ideas, I feel like there's so many layers to them. Like, if you really like love yourself, like, what does that mean? You know, and you can find these simple truths and like just live them and embody them, and it'll just like change your life. Like, I'm learning to love myself even now. Like, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, was I loving myself before? You know?
Yeah.
And so like, and I think when you do, like, it kind of opens the world to you in a deeper way, you know, where you're kind of standing your power and you're not always being pulled around by everything around you, right?
Absolutely. Wise words, really, because I'm still working through that too. And I think, you know, in this career, it's almost like a rat race. You're like, okay, what's the next job? What's the next job? How do I do this? How do I make them love me or whatever? And then all the while, it's like, wait, who am I? Where am I? Where did I go? And do I like who I've become while I lost myself along the way? And I think you have a groundedness, and it's really great advice to offer, you know, anyone listening and watching, because if you're grounded in who you are and you love who you are, then you won't be shifted by this career, because this career can shake the strongest of people. So it's good to be grounded. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. When you said that, I was like, I felt that.
It's good advice. I'm being inspired by you. So let's get into the stage door round. I just have 3 questions for you, and the last one is a silly one, so don't take it too seriously. Okay, so the first one is, what are your dressing room must-haves?
Ooh. Oh gosh, what are my dressing room must-haves? I got really low maintenance, like recent years. Okay, I like having an image board of some kind, even if it's hidden, of like inspiration for me, or things to be like, oh yeah, like I made the last couple shows. I just ended up, it looked like a kid's folder from school, and it was just like images that I liked, and I just like had it there on my dressing. So that's good. Tea, I like having tea there. What else? Geez, I don't know. I never thought about this. Obviously my makeup, because if not, you look crazy on stage. I don't know. I mean, oh my God, that's such a hard one. Snacks, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, snacks. Snacks and tea and inspiration.
Yeah, I like that. Those are good. Those are great answers. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like I need my snacks, I need my water, and do I need my phone? No, because I get really irritated when someone calls me during the show. I'm terrible like that. I'm terrible. I'm the worst friend. Yeah, those are definitely my must-haves. And then like something like therapeutic, like something PT, like an ointment or like a lacrosse ball or something like that. Because, these calves, they get real tight real quick.
Man, I wish I saw you in that show too. Like,
Aww.
Oh my gosh. Well,
we'll see. Maybe there's still time. Who knows? Okay, so you play so many instruments. What is your favorite to play?
My favorite, I have to say, well, I mean, violin, obviously, because I've known the violin the longest. We're good friends. But I feel like I have recently become obsessed with wanting to learn guitar. I mean, I knew like basic guitar, like, like for that show I was doing, and just in general, you learn like the basic chords and that kind of thing. But I've been following all these amazing female guitarists on Instagram, and I'm just like, man, such badassery out there, So, but my favorite is violin right now, but I really want to get good at guitar.
I believe you can do it. I mean, it's like once you get proficient in an instrument, especially because it's already in the same family, then I feel like, taking on another one is just like, oh, let me learn these new chords. Done. Got it. Like you don't have to work up the resilience on your fingertips and all that. So
yeah, you definitely understand the mechanics of it. And I took a class during the pandemic at Berkeley online.
Oh, nice.
And it was like a guitar class, and it was so fun. And I learned so much. But but when I say good, I feel like the people I follow are all beasts. Like they're like, that's what they do for a living kind of thing. So it's like a whole different level. Anyway, but to answer your question, violin.
I love it. How long have you played the violin? We didn't even get into that really.
Oh, I mean, I started, it almost sounds made up, so I kind of don't say it, but my mom, well, I thought I started when I was 3. And then my mom was like, well, when you were 1.5, she made a fake violin out of, there's this grocery store in Miami called Publix.
Oh, we know Publix. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she would take like Publix brown bags, and she wrapped a piece of wood in it and put like un palito, the little stick for the scroll. And she put like a cardboard thing on the floor so we'd know how to stand and know how to hold it. And it wasn't a violin, obviously, but I was 1.5. And I was like, that sounds so fake. Why? Because she wasn't even a violinist. She just loved it. And so I thought that was so cool. And then when I was 3, me and my sister started playing, and we did the Suzuki method, which is what a lot of kids do when they're learning young. And I started really young. And then I just was the worst at practicing. I just like wouldn't put in the time, and like now I'm like, Yvette, you got to show up. You got to you got to keep practicing, because this is going to be part of your life,
Yeah, absolutely. But, yeah. I feel like you keep getting called, like you said, you keep getting called to bring the violin back into your work. So yeah, I think for sure it's definitely has been and will continue to be a part of your life.
Yeah, and I just got to do something really cool this year with some amazing female. We did like a chamber group or whatever for her.
Oh wow!
For the Super Bowl, so we got to play. I got to play strings on her singing "America the Beautiful," and that was was like, man, if that's not a good reminder to like just keep putting in the time and like, you know,
oh my gosh,
showing love to, it was so cool. And like, I've been last year, actually, ironically enough, I did quite a lot of work. Like I got paid to be a violinist for people's projects, and I was like, that's so cool, you know, in a pandemic even. So there's something to it, I guess.
Absolutely.
And I love it.
That performance was amazing, by the way. That was my favorite performance of the Super Bowl. Like it took my breath away. And in a time in the country where things are so polarized and very difficult, it was just, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. And I'm not the one that's going to cry about, you know, America the Beautiful, but like it really got me emotional because it was just, wow. It was done in a way that was pristine, but just having a Black woman singing, and now knowing that you were part of the musicians involved too, just, it really was an emotional moment. It meant a lot to me. So
that's amazing. Yeah, actually, I didn't think about it like that, but that is so powerful. Mm-hmm. Like in such a understated way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's just an amazing artist. Like I'm just such a fan of hers. Like I didn't even know of her music until like last year, and now I'm like, she's ridiculous. Like
ridiculous. She the voice, the musicianship, like all of it is like so fierce. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yes.
I have my final question for you for this segment, and it is something we ask everyone, so you're totally safe.
Okay. Yes.
So, in the cast of Hadestown, who would you slap, who would you hug, and who would you take to lunch?
That's such a funny question. Who would I slap? I wanted to say Andre. Because he would like it. Just kidding. I would hug Patrick, and I would take to lunch everyone.
Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's great. That's great. Okay, so we are closing out our first segment. Yvette, I've had so much fun with you. For all of you listening and watching, if you want to see more of Yvette, you can follow her on IG at Yvette Nacer, and you can check out all the many things that she has done on YouTube at Yvette Nacer Vivo. I think that's what it is. Oh, she's like, I don't know.
I'm not actually sure, but I know there's a link on my Instagram that goes there and on my website, so that's always good.
Perfect. Check those out because she has some amazing music and some amazing videos to accompany them, which we're going to talk about in the curtain call. All right, Austin, play us out.